at 26 South Paint Street here in Chiillicothe, and I would ask the clerk to call the roll.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. Bennett,
Present.
Payne, Nickerson, Barnes, McKeever,
Here.
Dement,
Here.
Henderson. Here. Kroll,
Here.
Creed.
Here.
Is there a motion to excuse Ms. Nickerson? Motion by Mr. Dement, seconded by Mr. Prohl. Call the roll, please.
Bennett,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Henderson. Yes. Kroll,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
The motion passes. I would ask Mr. Barnes to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. The minutes from the previous meeting have been distributed for review. If there are no additions, deletions, or corrections, is there a motion to accept the minutes as presented? Motion by Ms. Payne. Is there a second? Second by Dr. Henderson. The minutes are accepted. Report of committees. Moving to the report of
Excuse me, President
committees.
Shoemaker, I do
Yes.
believe we need to vote on that.
Well, we'll call the roll because it won't hurt.
Bennett,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Henderson.
Yes.
Kroll,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
Minutes are accepted. And moving on to the committees, Development Committee, Mr. Dement.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. Development has 2 items on tonight's agenda. The first one is the third reading of an ordinance approving the action of the Chiillicothe Planning Commission in rezoning property located at 269 South Rennick Avenue in Chiillicothe from R3 residential to RC commercial. And the second item is a first reading of a resolution confirming the city's participation and commitment to ODOT's Route 50 Main Street paving project and declaring an emergency due to time constraints. And at the appropriate time, I'll request that council waive the 3-read rule. And that concludes my committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Dement. Engineering Committee, Mr. Barnes.
Engineering does not have anything on the agenda for night, and there have been no committee meetings so far.
Thank you. Finance and Technology Committee, Mr. Prohl.
Finance has no items on tonight's agenda, and so that concludes our report. Thanks.
Thank you. Human Resources Committee, Ms. Payne.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. Human Resources we have 5 items on the agenda tonight. Items 2, 3, 4, 6, and 7. So I'll go through each one of those. Item 2 is an ordinance establishing pay scale for part-time, summer, and seasonal employees within all departments. We put that on every year at this time. Item number 3 is an ordinance accepting and adopting the Chiillicothe Transit Department's updated Title VI policies and procedures. Item 4 is an ordinance accepting and adopting the Chiillicothe Transit Department's updated drug and alcohol testing policy. Those are all three on the second read, and they will go third read. Item number 6, we did have a committee meeting on the 4th for item number 6 and 7. Item number 6 is an ordinance authorizing the mayor's office to fill the mayor's chief of staff position and appropriating $70,000 to fund this position through the end of 2024 and declaring an emergency on this. This position has not been filled for quite a few years, and we were in discussions on the 4th, and we spent a great deal of time on this, and we appreciated Mayor Feeney coming in and explaining the position and exactly what this position will do. We did vote on that and decided to put this on. We will let this go 3 reads. Number 7 is an ordinance authorizing a part-time pay rate for the city engineering position and declaring an emergency on this. Tonight, I will ask that we waive the 3-read rule on this. And the reason for that, we have a retired engineer filling in, and we do not have a part-time engineering rate, and he does not want to currently work full-time. And we have not been able to fill that position full-time. We will have to go back and look at the pay scale on that and probably update that. So that concludes my report this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Parks and Rec, Dr. Henderson.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. Excuse me. Parks, Rec, and Tourism has one item on tonight's agenda, item number 8, which is a first reading of a resolution supporting the Ohio Commission for the United States Semi-Quincentennial, which is the America 250 OH. We also held a committee last Monday discussing no feeding of waterfowl and other wildlife on public lands. And that is all we have for Parks, Rec, and Tourism at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Safety Service Committee, Mr. Creed.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. We have one item on the agenda tonight is a second reading of an ordinance accepting and appropriating $21,331.50 from the Ohio Attorney General's office for training for the police department. And then we had a committee meeting earlier this evening for assignments 24-015. That's for engine 1 repair for $25,000. We voted that out of committee, so we'll see that coming up soon. And then 24-016, and that is money for the police department for CAD of $4,813.80 for the AVL, which is the vehicle locator, and then $21,000 for their CAD annual maintenance and software that was not fully budgeted at the beginning of the year. And we approved that in committee, and so we'll be seeing that come forward as well. That's all I have.
Thank you. Utilities Committee, Mr. McKeever.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. Utilities has nothing on the agenda for tonight.
Thank you. Ms. Nickerson is not here. Is there anyone from the City Service Committee with any report? Hearing none. Community Affairs Committee, Ms. Bennett.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. We do have on the agenda tonight the first read to appoint Jeff Creed to the Countywide 911 Program Review Committee. I do want to declare this an emergency since the committee's meeting in March, and that's getting grants for their community. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you. That completes the committee reports. Report of officials will go to Mayor Feeney.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. For the last couple meetings, I've mentioned that I was going to have the city's new chief building official attend the meeting. He is here with us tonight, so I'm going to cede my time to him, and he's going to present tonight on essentially his first 4 months here, but most importantly, he's going to update us on the conclusions he's come to in the review of, in particular, building permit fees, zoning fees, application fees. He has experience in Ohio, Georgia, in multiple jurisdictions. And after his presentation tonight, I'll turn what he's presented into a committee assignment request. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think every item is necessary for council approval. There might be some items that either the building department or engineering can unilaterally approve. But I've asked him to present all of it here tonight, just to catch you up, catch the public up, and then from there we'll go to committee. So Chad, if you want to come up, and you can just present at the podium there, just green button. Thank you.
Mic on, sorry. Good evening, everybody. Yeah, as Mayor said, I've kind of taken the last 4 or 5 months here to kind of just really observe the departments and see what modifications could be made to make them better, make them more sustainable. And one of the biggest things I saw right out of the chute was just our fee schedule is terribly outdated, especially for the zoning department. One thing I'll state here is, looking at the ordinance, it states that the city council shall establish by a separate ordinance a schedule of fees, so on and so forth. I've done that on your behalf as a recommendation for the zoning department, and what I've done is basically tried to look at all the communities in the area and try to get some comparisons. And try to go off of my previous experience for what zoning departments are charging. One thing I've had to take into consideration is there's a lot of communities who have zoning, but they don't do the building duties for their jurisdiction. For example, Circleville. Circleville just has zoning. Pickaway County does their building services for them. So I really had to dig around, and I found some fee schedules from Lancaster. I had to go up into Delaware City, just to try to find some available schedules. And what I've come up with is, as you guys see in front of you, the zoning department fees. Our current fee schedule, looking at it, we currently charge for a conditional use permit, a zoning amendment, and a Board of Zoning Appeals hearing, and that's it. Nothing for any kind of residential permits, non-residential permits. If somebody wants to build a house or do whatever, there's no fee for a zoning certificate currently, unless they have to go through one of the other steps. Just to put this in perspective, a Board of Zoning Appeals hearing is, we currently charge $75. We have to post a notice in the newspaper of said hearing, and that costs us $157.20. So for every BZA hearing we have, we lose $75 right out of the chute. So that's something, as you guys can see on the fees, where I'm proposing or suggesting, I guess, an increase on that. The same thing would follow suit with a conditional use. Current fee is $100. I'm proposing $200 on that. Here again, just to kind of cover the ad in the paper and any kind of administrative fees that we may have. Or not fees, but kind of administrative costs that we may have. A zoning amendment was $150. That one may look a little bit steep. I'm doing a recommendation of $1,000. Looking at other jurisdictions, it can go even higher than that. Circleville was up around $1,500. It just all depends. Now, a zoning amendment, that is to change the classification of a lot or to make it a requested amendment in the book. Those things don't come up too often. But when they do, you're looking at reproducing zoning maps. You're looking at, all these things that have to be done with that. So is there any questions as far as the zoning related fees from anybody?
Any questions from any of the council members? Hearing none, go ahead. You can move forward.
And then as far as the building department fees, our current fee schedule is based upon construction cost. And a lot of departments do it that way, but it's really difficult to measure, that it's really, really difficult to measure that for determining permit fees. I see a lot of times people will come in and say they want to obtain a building permit to build a deck. And then you ask them, okay, what's construction cost? Oh, I'll have $700. Okay, what would it's supposed to be based upon the cost if you were to hire a contractor and, supply material, or they would supply materials, labor. So it's really hard to measure construction costs because, to be honest, it can be fibbed, very easily as well. So the fee schedule that I have presented or given to you guys is broken down between non-residential and residential fees. The reason this is done this way is because this is the way the Ohio Board of Building Standards breaks down their departments. You have non-residential departments, and then you have residential departments. Pretty self-explanatory on those. The Board of Building Standards collects 3% on all fees collected on non-residential, and they collect 1% on all residential fees. So that's why I've broken them up into two, just so there's no confusion. And obviously, historically, non-residential fees tend to be more than residential. I handed you guys as well a comparison spreadsheet that I put together, comparing, Pickaway County, Delaware County, Marysville, which is actually Union County, and then Delaware City. These were building departments that had residential and non-residential departments within. So I wanted to make sure I was doing apples to apples comparisons. Looking at it, the current fee schedule for Chiillicothe, honestly, on new home construction, is not too far off. And what I had to do for the current fee schedule, because it's based upon construction cost, is take an average per square foot. So looking at it, you're looking at $125 a square foot. I figured that was a pretty good average depending on the builder that you're going with. So looking at $125 a square foot and then transferring that into a figure for a fee schedule based upon square footage. Okay, if that makes any sense, because we currently go off construction costs. What you see in front of you is, for example, a 3,000 square foot house. Delaware City, you're looking at $930, $845 in Union County, $810 in Delaware County, $900 Pickaway, $799 in Chiillicothe currently, $935 proposed. So not much really of an increase there for new home construction, but where it is going to help is for the smaller jobs, for the HVAC replacements, so on and so forth, where currently our fee schedule is, our current fee schedule is $40 for jobs up to $1,000, and then $2 for each additional $1,000. So long story short, when it comes down to it, you're talking less than $50 to have, a $6,000-7,000 square foot job performed. A $50 permit doesn't even cover the inspector's trip out there once, let alone any other additional cost. The proposed, let's use a deck for example. Looking at it, one thing I put on here as well, as you'll see, is an application fee and then a plan review fee that must be paid at the time of application. There's a reason I've requested that be in there as well, and that's to cover our costs on the front end. Because a lot of times what happens is people will apply for a building approval and then they don't do the project. So we've had time and review, creating a file, all this, and never collected a dime on it. So I'm also requesting that we, create an application fee, and any plan review fees have to be paid up front. That way we at least cover our bases there. But just for an example, so if we're looking at if we're looking at a electric service upgrade, a current cost for the permit would be about $40. The proposal would be about $106. If you look at the residential fee schedule, there's a gray box that I put on the front. That's kind of our quick reference, if you will. These are the permits that we tend to issue, more frequently. So I went ahead and included kind of a cheat sheet on there so that, we know exactly what to charge, or, the people coming in know exactly what they're gonna have to pay certain work. So is there any further questions on that? I will state that there's been more than one occurrence where people have been shocked by the cost of our building and zoning permits and the fact that they're too low. I've had a few contractors say, I would love to build here anytime, anywhere, just because of the cost being so low. And that's not necessarily a good thing, you know, financially speaking for a city. So is there any questions?
Thank you. Appreciate it. Anything else, Mayor?
The only other thing I'll report is that I'm kicking off my neighborhood office hours. First one's tomorrow, and it is at the library at 4 o'clock. I'm sorry, 3:30. Room B2. Tomorrow, the 12th of March. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Auditor Spetnagel, you gave us an extensive review before this meeting started, but I'll ask if you have anything else that you need to add.
I do not have anything on the agenda tonight. We did do a budget review before this. If anyone was present and has questions, feel to reach out to me. And then I just wanted to let everyone know that this year the city income taxes are due on Monday, April the 15th. Sometimes that varies depending on the weekends and how that April the 15th falls, but it is due on April the 15th. We will have extended hours on Friday, April the 12th, and then Monday, the April the 15th, we'll stay open until 6:30 to give people more time to come in and file those returns. If you have any questions, you can call my office or the income tax department, and we can help you get those filed. And that concludes my report.
Are there any other questions for the auditor? Hearing none, we'll now move to audience participation. Any person wishing to address council must first provide his or her name and address. Comments shall generally be limited to 5 minutes, and I'll give you a warning when there is 1 minute remaining.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. My name is Melanie Euler. I'm an employee of Ross County Community Action, and I'm here to talk to you about homelessness. So, what you probably are aware of, that in Ross County there is an organized group that addresses homelessness. What you may not be aware of is this committee or coalition has been in existence for almost 20 years. So the Ross County Continuum of Care to End Homelessness is the official title of our group. I want to say by definition, a continuum of care is a geographically based group of representatives that carries out the planning responsibilities of the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development's Continuum of Care Homeless Assistance Program. Membership comprised of organizations that provide services to people experiencing homelessness, and that's no different for Ross County as it is nationally. The COC program is designed to assist both sheltered and unsheltered homeless individuals by providing the housing and or services needed to help them move into transitional and permanent housing with the long-term goal of stability. Specifically, the Code of Federal Regulations, Title 24, also known as 24 CFR Part 578.1 of the COC program, the interim rule states that the primary purposes of the COC program is, number one, to promote community-wide commitment to the goal of ending homelessness. Number two, promote access to and effective use of mainstream programs by homeless individuals and their families. Number 3, provide funding for efforts by nonprofit providers, states, and local governments to rehouse homeless individuals and their families rapidly while minimizing the trauma and dislocation caused to homeless individuals, their families, and the community as a consequence of homelessness. And finally, optimize self-sufficiency among individuals and families experiencing homelessness. Locally, our COC is organized under the direction of an executive committee. I will say that Julie Boland is the executive director of Ross County Community Action. She serves as our chair. And in the audience, I have Jennifer Crawford, who is our co-chair, and Bill Showman, who is the chair of our Education and Awareness Subcommittee, and I chair the Outreach and Events Subcommittee. We meet monthly, the first Wednesday at the Annex, Room B. And I have for I have actually for all of you, would you mind passing, please? A copy of our schedule for the ensuing year for all of our meetings. I'd like to give them to each of you with an invitation to attend. We have a bi-monthly plan. 1 month, first month will be like a traditional COC meeting where we go through all of our agenda, and the next month is actually committee meeting. So bi-monthly is an official meeting, and then the off month is committee meetings, so we can meet and coordinate our activities. I also want to comment that at our last meeting, we had an attendance of 18 individuals representing 10 different agencies in our area. And I think that speaks for itself, the importance of this group. Some of the activities of our local COC include organizing and completing the annual point in time count for Ross County. I'm not sure how much information you would like on that or how much knowledge you have. A point in time count is completed annually on January, this year was January 24th, and we engaged individuals to find where did you stay the night of the 23rd. There are multitudes of grants that report this data, and grant funding obviously is very important as we finance our efforts throughout the county in different arenas. Number 2, we provide regular organized outreach to unsheltered individuals experiencing homelessness. We have an organized outreach team that represents multiple agencies, and for at least the last 3 years, I have led that group, and we go bi-monthly, at least bi-monthly, out and about, engaging and creating relationship with individuals experiencing unsheltered homelessness. Number 3, the stand down against homelessness. You might remember at one point the VA administration pretty much took over Yaktangi Park, at least Enderlin Circle and around, blocked off roads. And the VA has since stepped back, but recent conversation brings them back into the fold. So we are excited about that. We will be sending out save the dates for September 13th this year. The event will be held at Poland Park. And again, I invite you to be present, at least for a portion, to see how that event plays out. Last year was super successful. There was a lot of individuals there. We want the community to be a part of this also. This year, we're actually trying to reach out and make it a community-wide event. Last year, we had about 30 different agencies, community partners that participated. We offered education, and then we want the community to be a part of that. So we're offering community resources under the auspices of education, so we can educate the community on what homelessness is, what our efforts are, what's being done, what we need to do. We're offering resources. We'll be offering services and resources needed by the homeless individuals and their families. And that's everything from haircuts, clothing, and treatment facilities will be there, just to name a few. We offer lunch. This year, again, under the auspices of education, we're offering some mini stations, if you will, providing a variety of community education, everything from living outside to tying knots to generalized education about homelessness. And we have in the past had the Justice Bus. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with the Justice Bus. It comes from Southeastern Ohio Legal Services, but statewide it is a legal services for those that need. I'm not sure if there's I think it's free. I'm sorry, I hate to say that it's free. I think it is free, but I don't want to misspeak. But it's been very popular. And again, we tried to get that this year, and probably we will have that. And then lastly, and maybe most importantly, December of 23, we opened and continue to operate our Community Resource Center. That is a 24-hour location and an overnight shelter at 804 Eastern Avenue. I want to offer you some data. You can't go without some good data. Everybody likes the data. And so, first of all, I want to speak about point in time count. This year's point in time count, first of all, the domestic violence shelter in Ross County, which is known as Rose House, for the night of point in time, had 5 individual women. We had 3 households there that included 3 women and 9 children. The emergency shelter on the night of the 23rd housed 82 individuals. Unsheltered, which is the outreach team, so that's the team that goes out and about. We were able to engage 9 individual men and 3 individual women that represented 12 households, if you will. We also were able to document an additional 11 households. Of those households, there were 11 women, 7 men, 7 boys, and 7 girls. So all told, that's 23 households we were able to document on that night, or the night of the 23rd. We did it on the 24th. That day, the outreach team, I want to let you know again, we had 16 volunteers representing 12 agencies that day. Finally, the shelter data as of March 6th for our overnight shelter, which is also part of the 24-hour Community Resource Center. As of March 6th, we have served 250 individuals. That is non-duplicated. Of that number, 27 have been children. We average 60 to 80 individuals a night. As you might well expect, it's quite the undertaking. We are looking at about $25,000 a month. If you would like to break that down individually, we have an 80-cot capacity. You're looking at about $300 a month. So part of the efforts of Ross County Community Action, along with our other community partners, is sustainability. So we are looking into ways to promote some fundraising, and using these numbers, we're considering sponsorship, sponsor a cot, if you will. Sponsor a cot for a month would be $300. If you could do a night, that's $10. So we have some ideas on the table, and our local COC will be developing them along with our education and awareness chair and the rest of the COC. So we have some good ideas, and hope to have your support. Any questions for me? Did everybody get a copy of the schedule for our meeting?
I'd just like to briefly piggyback on what Melanie has said. This group is an incredible group. A lot of the work that they do, no one ever sees except for the folks doing it and the folks who receive this help. It's been an honor to work with this group, and I'm going to be organizing a tour of the new emergency shelter for City Council to go and see all of that and see what this group has worked so hard to put together. You look at these numbers, 250 individuals and 27 children, when they only have, an 80-bed capacity. Think of how many people, and those are not necessarily, some will stay multiple nights, but others, they get help through this group. So, like I said, they've been absolutely wonderful, and I encourage everybody to attend if you're able to these meetings and help where you can. Thank you.
Definitely, yes, I thank you, and I definitely encourage you to come and do the tour. There's much more data to be had. I don't want to cover you up with it, but the amount of services that are provided, we're providing case management. We have peer supporter on site on 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And there's just a lot of good things happening there. I do invite you. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
In order to donate financially, where can one find that information?
Community Action's webpage, Ross County Community Action, we have the QR code. You can do that through the QR code. You can also connect with me after the meeting, but we actually have pretty much maxed out on clothing. I hate to say that because as soon as I do, we'll need something, but the community outpouring has been amazing. And for the storage area that we have, we've just been given a lot of clothes. So now we're segueing into spring and putting away some winter things. We still have lots of coats. I can get the information sheet for council that has QR codes for the different opportunities to give. Thank you.
Thank you. Couple of things. One, thank you for all the information, and thank you for all you're doing. For those of us that aren't very good with QR codes, I'll figure out how to donate some other way, but we'll get it done. But we appreciate everything you're doing. The other thing I want to say is you may suggest that I'm not a very good timekeeper with the 5-minute rule. Well, I've got discretion to let it go longer, so it worked out just fine. Thank you. Thank you. Any other audience participation?
Good evening, David White, 179 Church Street. Just a couple questions in regard to items 3 and 4 on the agenda. The amendments to the Transportation Department's Title 5 or Title 6 policy and the drug and alcohol testing policy. Where can we identify or where can we see those updates or see those policies?
Are you on the email list?
I'm on one of the, just on the agenda list. So no, I have not seen an email with that information.
We will make sure we get that too. I think when I do the assignments, I do them to the same group every time. But once again, it may have been something that you wouldn't have seen, or maybe I didn't get it in there. But we'll make sure that you get a copy of both of those things so you can see them.
I appreciate it. I reached out to Ms. Moss, but it was at the end of the day today. But
Just leave us. Send those.
all right, and thank you.
I think this will take about 1 minute. Connie Scott, 392 McKell. I didn't expect to speak tonight, but I'm always interested in the chief of staff position. I'm interested in administrative things. And my quick question is, this $70,000 probably is a baseline. It doesn't also include benefits, if I heard you correctly, Ms. Spetnagel, during your opening. So this could be a possibility of $100,000 with insurance and other benefits.
I think the 70,000 that's currently requested is just to fill it for the rest of the year.
Okay, so
that
that
isn't. I mean, that's taking time to like get the job posted and get it out there.
So this is a March to December thing. And
Maybe
so
not
after
even
that,
March.
it would be a permanent position, because I know from education, once you get it, you want to keep it forever. Okay. Now, am I allowed to ask a second question? Does this
I have
come,
discretion to allow you to ask a second question, and I'm going to do that.
this will take 45 seconds. Does this funding come from the same area that possibly funding for police and firemen would come from? I'm a safety person. I lost my house to a fire many years ago, and I'm just kind of concerned about, or is this a different funding element?
The answer is yes.
Yes, what?
Yes,
What?
yes, it's the same pot, and yes, it's other pots too.
Okay.
So when we have the short answer is there's something called cost allocation. So certain jobs get money from different areas of the city. So administration jobs are one of those. So the water department and the sewer department help share the cost. The police department does not. The fire department does not share in those costs.
I
But
kind of talked about that in my presentation, the Maximus report. Like I used my staff as an example.
You need to talk in a microphone,
I
please.
kind of talked about that. It's okay. I kind of talked about that in my report whenever I talked about like the Maximus report and people in my office doing accounts payable or payroll, and then that gets allocated to the different departments and then gets billed back in as a reimbursement to the general fund.
I'm anxious to see the qualifications on this. I may go for it.
Thank you.
John Thacker, 990 Columbus Street, apartment 307, Chiillicothe. As many of you know, and it has not yet been mentioned, this is Developmentally Disabled Month, the month of March, of which there are numerous events, including a celebrity basketball game, which I'm looking forward to on March 20th. I don't know if the same people are going to be making fools of themselves, but you know what? What they lack in technical ability, they make up with enthusiasm. And you know what? I never had a better night than when I watched this game a year ago. So if you have an opportunity at Chiillicothe High School on March 20th at 6 p.m., there is a fee, which I unfortunately don't recall what it is. Perhaps some of you know if you're involved with that. But it is also a fundraiser, but it's mainly, I think, an opportunity to raise awareness, which is always a good thing. Thank you.
Hello, my name is the Reverend Terry Williams. I reside at 47.5 East Main Street here in the city of Chiillicothe. I'm just here to check up on a couple of questions that I left you with in January. One is in regard to the item number 1 on the agenda. I'm very glad to see that we went back and actually had a hearing that was properly noticed, and I appreciate that. I, however, have not seen any communication. Just wanted to confirm that notices were sent by the clerk to all of the fence line neighbors, which is part of the requirement. Okay, that's great to see. The other item that I wanted to check up on was Resolution 4123, the DORA resolution, and I'm interested to know if there's any update on that.
Yes, I spoke with the law director's office, and they confirmed that everything was up to par, even with the article that was placed. So they said that was all in order.
So the concern that I have about that is that the article that was placed actually wasn't placed within the required time frame. which to my knowledge, in my interactions with the law director's office, they did not inquire as to that time frame. They only inquired as to the legitimacy of the notice. And while that notice was put into the newspaper in December, the actual requirement to have that notice was 45 days in advance, according to the documents I gave you previously. So I'll go ahead and forward that again to you, and if the law director can respond to that in some way. If they can't, we may have to escalate that to a point. I'd really appreciate not having to do that, but pretty sure that we're in a problem here that still hasn't been resolved about that. I'd really appreciate communication back from somebody just to let me know for sure that that 45-day notice was made, because the item that was cited last time wasn't within 45 days.
Are there any other comments? Hearing none, we'll move on to old business. Is there any old business?
Yes, I'd like to speak about the chief of staff position. And kind of answer your question, with the salary range, which we've not locked that down yet, of $60,000 to $80,000, that will cost between $105,000 and $130,000 a year with benefits and insurance. I'm not sure how much that comes out of general funds versus the other ones, probably 25%. I'm not sure exactly though, so I don't want to quote that number. I did look at 6 other cities in Southern Ohio within about an hour, and who do not have a full-time chief of staff position or similar position. Only one of them has an assistant city manager who also is the development service director for that city. So they have a two-headed role. The city has added 2 new full-time positions to the mayor's staff in the last 4 years, plans and economic development director and an administrative assistant in that office. The city apparently has the same or more full-time equivalent positions in the mayor's staff based on the initial review of nearby cities. Would it make more sense to realign these positions to better meet the needs of the city without creating an additional financial burden on the city when we need more firefighters and paramedics and police officers when the federal grant expires? Over the years throughout the city, departments have been asked to do more with less. The police and fire departments still have less personnel than they had in the 1980s and 1990s. In 1988, the fire department had just over 2,500 calls a year with 48 uniformed members. They now have 45 uniformed members and are averaging about 7,000 calls a year. 7 of those firefighters are paid out of the additional safety levy that we passed in 2015. The fire department used to have 3 assistant chiefs back in the 1990s. One of those positions was eliminated in 2001 to save money, and I eliminated another one in 2015 because we determined we needed more firefighters and paramedics out on the streets instead of someone sitting in an office. And without this action, we would have needed to eliminate 1 to 2 additional firefighters during that time. Based on the EMS study recently completed by the county, about 5% of the time we need a 3rd, 4th, or additional squads available to meet the medical emergency needs of our community. But due to low staffing, they rarely have more than 2 squads available to meet the need of the ever increasing demand for medical emergencies. Our police department faces similar staffing issues with less police officers and 2 to 3 times the workload over that same time period we talked about with the fire department. The federal grant is currently funding up to 8 positions in the police department, and we need to ensure that we have the funding in our budget to maintain positions going into 2025 with a goal of 39 to 42 officers in addition to their sergeants, captains, and police chief. Right now, we only have 39 positions for the officers, and 8 are being paid with federal grants. We can't expect them to keep working with less people and wonder why they struggle to get the job done and experience excessive overtimes. I would recommend that we realign the mayor's management team to better meet the needs of the mayor and the city without creating an additional financial strain on a budget with many competing financial demands. With realignment, we need to ensure that key positions pay reflects the responsibility of the position to attract the personnel who can help our city grow and move forward into the future. Along these same lines, if the position is not funded, we should look at the mayor's salary and look at whether it should be part-time or full-time status going forward after this election cycle, and that the automatic pay increases are what they should be to ensure that the position, hours, and pay reflect our expectations of this position and reflects the responsibilities of that position as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Creed. I would point out one thing, that the ordinance allows for city council to approve the amount of pay. It does not address the ability of council to decide whether there will be a position or not a position. So just so we make sure we stay within the ordinances and in fact the statutes of the state of Ohio. So essentially this group will be looking at the, the amount of pay, and obviously you can set that in a way that may affect the positions, but like I say, by statute, we're a legislative body that doesn't have the right to make that particular decision. I can give you the site.
President Shoemaker, I believe it is our responsibility to determine whether we fund that position or not. And that's what this ordinance is asking for. And I'm asking that we not do that.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Okay.
That it's a funding issue, though, just so you make sure that we stay within what we're allowed to do. But yes, absolutely. There's no question about that. And that's what I was pointing out. Is there any other old business to come before? Was there any correspondence or petitions? Is there any new business to come before the council? There is one issue that the county auditor contacted the mayor and myself about the Tax Incentive Review Council. That is a county-wide group that reviews tax exemptions, etc. And there are some appointments to be made. I think it's 2 by the mayor with the approval of this council. They were hoping to have a meeting on Monday of this next week, although, as I understand, reading the statute, that no decisions are made until September. So I'll leave it up to the council as to how you want to handle this particular issue regarding adding people to the Tax Incentive Review Council.
President Shoemaker, I do believe they actually met today, not next Monday. So I think this is of importance that we make this decision quickly.
Well, if there's a motion, I believe that it can be made by motion to make an appointment. Now, it doesn't have to be someone from this council. It can be simply someone from the city. So if someone wishes to make a motion tonight and someone on this council wishes to serve, we could certainly go forward with that particular motion at this point in time.
I can speak further. So the Tax Incentive Review Council, the task of the city appointments is to review any incentives such as abatements or other incentives that the city has either previously adopted by city council or by city council. And so at the Tax Incentive Review Council meeting every year, there's a review of the application, what was committed to in the application, and ultimately a decision as to whether they're upholding their end of what they proposed. That those their meetings are so it's multi-jurisdictional. The city only weighs in on the things that are within the city, and the townships weigh in on what's in the township. School boards are involved, so it's not a very time-consuming thing. I think really you attend one meeting, maybe 2 a year. So and my understanding is that there would be that my obligation would be to appoint 2 members of the public, which obviously I have not put names in front of you before this meeting. And then I don't know if is there a legislative body representative, President Shoemaker? I'm not sure on that.
Not as I read the statute, no.
I move we address this at our next meeting with nominations and make a vote at that time.
Well, we have a motion and a second, and I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Bennett,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Henderson,
Yes.
Kroll,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
The motion passes, and the mayor will get us the recommendations or the nominations by the next meeting in time for council to have a review of that. That's everybody's schedule. Thank you. Is there any other new business? Hearing none, we'll move to the reading of the ordinances and resolutions.
Item number 1 is the third reading of an ordinance approving the action of the Planning Commission of the City of Chiillicothe in rezoning property located at 269 South Rennick Avenue, Chiillicothe, Ohio, from R3 to RC.
Clerk will call the roll.
Bennett,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Henderson,
Yes.
Prohl,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
The ordinance is adopted.
Item number 2 is the second reading of an ordinance establishing the pay scale for part-time summer and fall seasonal employees within the Parks and Recreation, Recreation Swimming Pool, Engineering, Utilities, Administration, Service, Police, Law Director, Human Resources, and Auditors Departments of the City of Chiillicothe for the calendar year 2024.
The ordinance will move to the next agenda.
Item number 3 is the second reading of an ordinance accepting and adopting the Chiillicothe Transit Department's updated Title VI policy and procedure and declaring an emergency.
The ordinance will move to the next agenda.
Item number 4 is the second reading of an ordinance accepting and adopting the Chiillicothe Transit Department's updated drug and alcohol testing policy and declaring an emergency.
The ordinance will move to the next agenda.
Item number 5 is the second reading of an ordinance accepting and appropriating $21,331.50 received from the Ohio Attorney General's Office for the Chiillicothe Police Department's participation in the Q4 Continuing Professional Education Program and declaring an emergency.
The ordinance will move to the next agenda.
Item number 6 is the first reading of an ordinance authorizing the mayor's office to fill the mayor's chief of staff position, appropriating $70,000 to fund the position through the end of 2024 and declaring an emergency.
The ordinance will move to the next agenda.
Item number 7 is the first reading of an ordinance authorizing a part-time pay rate for the city engineering position and declaring an emergency.
President Shoemaker, I would ask that we waive the 3-read rule for this item.
Is there a second? Mr. Creed? On the waiver, the clerk will call the roll.
Bennett,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Henderson,
Yes.
Prohl,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
The motion passes, and I'll now ask for the clerk to call the roll on the ordinance itself.
Bennett,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Henderson,
Yes.
Prohl,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
The ordinance passes.
Item number 8 is the first reading of a resolution supporting the Ohio Commission for the United States Semi-Quincentennial America 250 OH.
President Shoemaker, at this time, I'd ask that we waive the 3-read rule.
And there's a second by Ms. Payne. I will ask the clerk to call the roll on the waiver.
Bennett,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Henderson,
Yes.
Prohl,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
Motion passes. Please call the roll on the ordinance itself.
Bennett,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Henderson,
Yes.
Prohl,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted.
Item number 9 is the first reading of a resolution confirming the appointment of Jeff Creed to the countywide 911 Program Review Committee and declaring an emergency.
President Shoemaker, can we waiver the 3-reading rule for this?
Is there a second to the motion? Dr. Henderson, please call the roll.
Bennett,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Henderson,
Yes.
Prohl,
Yes.
Creed.
Abstain.
Please call the roll on the ordinance itself.
Bennett,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Henderson,
Yes.
Prohl,
Yes.
Creed.
Abstain.
Ordinance is adopted.
Item number 10 is the first reading of a final resolution enacted by the City of Chiillicothe, hereinafter referred to as the Legislative Authority or Local Public Agency, LPA, in the matter of the stated described project, State Route 50 Main Street paving project, and declaring an emergency.
President Shoemaker, I'd like to make a motion to waive the 3-read rule on this, please.
Second by Ms. Bennett. Please call the roll on the motion.
Bennett,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Henderson, Prohl,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
Please call the roll on the ordinance.
Bennett,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Henderson,
Yes.
Prohl,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
President Shoemaker,
Yes.
I request that we move into executive session to discuss FOP contract negotiations.
Is there a second to that motion? Second by Ms. Bennett. Please call the roll.
Bennett,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Henderson,
Yes.
Prohl,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
We will now go into executive session. We are now out of executive session, and with no more business to come before the council, is there a motion to adjourn? Well, okay, we'll say Ms. Payne and Ms. Bennett with the second. Please call the roll.
Bennett,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Henderson,
Yes.
Prohl,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
We are adjourned.